Don't worry, I have a good excuse for breaking my October rule. Okay, hello everybody, and today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 Rocky franchise moments. This is as an audition or whatever you want to call it for a thing that Backtrack Cinema is doing. Shout out, I will have the link in the description below. He's doing like a top 50, and you can put in some of your favorite moments and he will like audition you or something. It's complicated, so I'm just putting in a few of mine. I just thought it would be cool because I absolutely love Rocky. He's probably my favorite movie character of all time. He got switched to number one now, so I absolutely love him. So I thought it would be great to talk about 10 of my favorite moments from the franchise. And believe me, this was tough because Rocky I love, so there's just some outstanding moments. So without any further delay, let's talk about Rocky and the franchise. And to be honest, some of these are interchangeable, and to be honest, there are days that I have more on them. But for now, this is just my top 10, so let's get started. At number 10 is the training montage from Rocky 3. And Rocky 3, one of my favorite movies in this franchise, and the training montage just shows how much time has passed. And also, I just really love these montages in the franchise, and this one just does a really good job of like when you're down, watch this. This will motivate you to do something. This is probably my favorite montage, except for one more in this franchise, because I absolutely love the Eye of the Tiger. It is one of my favorite songs of all time. So getting this and that, I went insane when I found this out. This was probably, when I saw it, the most rewatchable Rocky movie for me, and I loved it. So getting to see just like Rocky going through this and his career like taking off, and showing his ego and how he's getting into the rise, so he could hit his downfall. It is just so cool to see, and it's just a scene that I always enjoy and one of the most rewatchable scenes in the Rocky franchise. Period. Next is the scene involving Rocky at the grave in Creed, and also as Creed 2, because he does it in both movies. And I just find that this is one of the most relatable things in Rocky that he's ever done. Like, this is my favorite version of Rocky, the version of him in Creed, because I've always loved him as a character in Rocky, but in Creed, he's more of this mentor, and he has all this advice that he gives him. He's basically now Mickey, and it's just so satisfying. And this version of him, he's a lot more sad because sometime between Rocky 5 and Rocky Balboa, Adrian dies of women's cancer or something. And we find out that Paulie dies sometime after Rocky Balboa, so we see him visiting their graves and just doing very human stuff, like he's reading them the newspaper. He, even for like Paulie's birthday, brings him a drinking glass. I'm pretty sure Paulie would have been really happy about that. And I mean, it's a sad scene for people who love the characters, and I was heartbroken that Paulie was dead. He's a character that I loved, even though he's so hateable because he's so mean. Yet I still love the character, and it just is so sad. Yet it just alone the way he acts it, and it just makes it so sad yet so uplifting, and just makes you really feel for Rocky in this movie, which is just one of the reasons why I got to be on this list. 8. Mickey dies in Rocky 3. This one I got spoiled for. A lot of the stuff in Rocky I either got spoiled for or got to see experience for the first time. This was sadly one of the ones that I got ruined for me. And so Mickey dying, I still felt a lot of emotion. Just this is one of those deaths that in terms of movies hits me the hardest because because Rocky, it essentially is his fault, because he gets an ego because of how many times he's winning, and he wants to be Clubber Lang. Well, he wants to beat Clubber Lang in this fight, and Mickey has slowly been declining in his health over the years, and this is like at his all time low where he's slowly dying. You can tell, and he's like, no, Rock, I'm done. And Rocky just keeps on pleading, and he convinces him in the end, and it leads to him having a heart attack, and it's just a very sad moment in this franchise that where you see Rocky over his mentor that he's always loved, over his dead body, and just whimpering and crying over it. That's probably the saddest scene in the entire franchise, and what just makes it even more sad is that Rocky knows the entire time it is his fault, and it's a scene that really, really makes your emotions just really makes your emotions fly. And I get that a lot of people would have this much higher for just the emotions that it carries. Personally, I have it at number 8, but it could easily go higher or lower. I don't know. It depends on the day, but this is just a fantastic scene that really gets your emotions going. Next is Rocky and his son in Creed 2. This is also a scene that really packed an emotional punch for me. This is like one of like the Rocky franchise is just a very emotional franchise at certain points. Like they can be over the top in like the 80s ones, but they can also have a lot of really heavy hitters in certain moments, and that is just such a gut-wrenching scene where you see Rocky after many years. He goes to his son to talk to him, and he realizes that he's missed a lot. Like his son has a kid and everything. He has a wife. He's married. There's like he's not the boy that he always saw. It's emotional, and like he's not used to it, and it like kind of unsettles him when he watches it, and he's trying to be nice. And it's a scene that, in my opinion, probably one of the standout scenes in this movie. Like when it comes to this franchise, I'm more of a fan of the emotional stuff than the actual boxing itself. It's like always like the Rocky and Creed movies have always been a metaphor. Like the sports have never been the main focus. It's always been an excuse to get the characters. That's what all great sports movies will do. And this movie, while Rocky is not entirely the main focus of this movie, he certainly has a lot of memorable scenes in this movie, this being one of the most memorable to me, and obviously just really punched me in the gut when I watched it, because it was very sad to see this, but it also could make you feel really happy that he's now actually talked to his son, even if it took a very long time for it. But I do love this movie and this scene. Next is Rocky's amazing speech from Rocky Balboa. I'm pretty sure we all know what I'm talking about. The scene where he has this big speech in front of his son, where he like holds back all sorts of stuff that he's been keeping inside him, and like just it's such a really quotable scene. It ain't how hard you hit, it's how hard you get hit and keep moving forward. And this was a really, really sad scene for me, even like how he's just letting loose, and like he's getting emotional. And Rocky Balboa was never my favorite when I first saw this movie. It was easily my least favorite in the franchise. Don't worry, didn't have taste yet. And it's a scene that like Rocky's had a hard life, and he like finally finds a way to get back at that, and he wants to get back into sports, but his son doesn't want him to, and he's just like super broken about that. He wants to fight, but he's arguing with his son, and it's very emotional in that regard. And it's hard to describe certain scenes, but don't worry, we're about to get into the parts where I'm really going to be having a lot to say about these ones. So it's a very fantastic scene that I do love, and one of the scenes I've watched in the Rocky franchise the most. Now we're in the top 5, and now we're talking about Rocky 3. Again, believe me, there's a lot of really standout moments in here, and I'm talking about the fight between Rocky and Adrian, where they have an argument on the beach, and it's about how he's now like scared, and he feels guilty about Mickey's death, like I just talked about. And it's just this is another sad scene in the franchise, but also it's one that's uplifting, how Adrian is like yelling at him that it's not his fault, and how he's like, I'm afraid. Like no one that I fought actually meant anything. And it's just such a captivating moment in the franchise. It's a sad moment. It's a moment that really makes you feel for Rocky, that he's now human. He's taken off the fact that he did have an ego, and he was wrong in this, and he managed to get his mentor killed. and it's just a scene that really reflects on Rocky as a character and doesn't make him come off as a caricature as maybe it could if it was executed wrongly. So it's just a really amazing scene that I absolutely loved and makes me really happy every time I watch it. We are back to Creed, and now we are talking about Adonis and Rocky climbing the stairs or the ending scene to Creed. And this is once again one of those symbolic scenes in the franchise where you have Rocky now like passing on a torch to this new generation of fighters, and at the head of that is Adonis, and how they're now almost like father and son, and how they have such a good relationship, and how they're climbing the stairs together slowly, and it just really is an amazing ending. Like if they did not do Creed 2 and 3 and they had just capped it off here, this may have been higher because this is a fantastic ending to this franchise. It is a thing that really makes you feel satisfying, like the Rockies storyline has finally come to a close, and it's a franchise that could have had a complete story. We got Creed 2 and it was fantastic, but did we really need it? That's the question that's up for debate. But it's just such a satisfying scene in the movie, and a scene that this is also one of my most rewatched scenes in the entire franchise. At number 3, we have the argument between Rocky and Adonis in Creed 2. If you don't know what I am talking about, then watch Creed 2. You must give that one a watch, and just take a look at the scene involving Rocky talking to Adonis when Adonis comes over to Rocky's, and him talking about how he's going to fight Drago's son, and it's really amazing because it's just so well acted by Stallone and Michael B. Jordan as just this iconic duo who are playing off each other in such this amazing way, like how Adonis is angry because his dad was killed by Drago and he wants revenge, and Rocky's like, that's not going to make you feel better. Keep in mind, I got revenge on him too, but it didn't make me feel better. Like, well, I mean, it kind of did, but still, he doesn't want that to happen to Adonis like it did to him, and just Adonis doesn't listen, and it's just such a scene that's well acted, and it really does a great job of showing how these characters really would interact with these certain situations, and it is just a fantastic scene, and this is my personal favorite scene in the Creed franchise. Next is the training montage for Rocky. And objectively, if we were going on most iconic, this would probably be number 1. This is definitely the most replayed scene in the Rocky franchise. It's the one I've seen the most in the Rocky franchise based on scenes. And it's by far the most iconic, but is my favorite. No, it is not my favorite. And this does an amazing job of showing how Rocky has just been preparing this entire time, and how he's like, and like early on we have a speech about him saying like, maybe I have a chance for this. I don't think I can win, but maybe if I give my all, I have a chance. And this is just such a fantastic scene that shows that Rocky's trying his hardest. He wants to do whatever he can and doesn't know that the fight is just a show, so he thinks it's real, so he's doing whatever he can to win. And it just feels so amazing, and there's a reason that this is the most iconic scene, because just the music, the way it's played, and just the way that Stallone just keeps running faster and faster and faster and faster. So it is just such a fantastic scene in the movie, and objectively this should be number 1, but it is not for me. But this is just such an iconic scene. But coming in first place for me is Adrian. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, in the original Rocky film, you have this scene where as soon as the fight ends, like Rocky's just completely been pummeled. He is beaten up, and we don't know who's won. And it looks like Rocky's won, but we hear that he did not. He just wanted to give it his all. And over the course of the film, we see that he's just in love with Adrian. So he immediately wants to see her. And so instead of doing what a lot of other boxers would do and just ignoring her at the moment and seeing who won, he is just someone that immediately is like Adrian, and he comments on her hat early on in or early during the fight, and her fight gets knocked. Her. I'm trying to say this. Her hat gets knocked off, so he's noticing that, and and then when she comes, he's like, "Where's your hat?" So he's not paying attention to the fight. He's paying attention to small little details like, "Where's your hat?" And it's just so satisfying that he didn't care about winning this entire time. He went about going the distance, and he immediately wanted to see Adrian's reaction to that. It is so satisfying, and that is just immediately what really just makes this just so fantastic of a scene, is that it's about the character, not about the sport. They even go out of their way to say that this is about the character, not the sport. And for that reason, that's why this is my favorite scene in the Rocky franchise, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people would say that. It would be a lot of people's number one. I'm pretty sure the training montage will get number one for a lot of people, but hopefully we have some outliers that say that this is the best scene. There you have it, everyone. There's my ranking of my top 10 favorite Rocky moments. Be sure to let me know your top 10 in the comments below. Like I said, this is a like audition for something that Backtrack Cinema is doing for top 50 Rocky moments, and I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to get into that. I'm just going to be auditioning, just if that's what you can call it. I'm just doing this for fun because Rocky is one of my favorite movie characters. I know I broke my horror streak, but to be honest, I was not as in love with that as I thought I would be, so I was happy to go back to the roots of my channel and just dig deep in to some of the greatest movies of all time and talk about them. So this was always just so fun. Remember to check out Backtrack Cinema. Even if I don't get anything in that video, I would be happy to still watch it. Make sure to check them out. Check the link in the description. Please like and subscribe, and have a good one.